Hi everyone, I wanted to come on and do a video today to introduce our new reader. I know a lot of us get excited at school when we move on to a new reader, and I think this might be the last one that we cover this year. We'll have to see how it goes. There's a lot to do in this reader, and it's called Feel the Power. And one of the reasons why it's called that is because the theme of this reader is actually the weather, which will tie in nicely with a science unit that we didn't get a chance to cover at school, but I'm really hoping that we can use our literacy time to cover some of the concepts that we were supposed to learn during our science unit. So before we get into that, let's have a look at the table of contents, because I know a lot of us love looking at the table of contents and seeing what we're going to be reading in the reader. So you can see that the very first thing we are going to be reading is a poem called Wind. The next one is called The Power of the Wind, and it's actually an article about different storms. It's a nonfiction article giving us information about different kinds of storms around the world. The next writing piece is fiction, and it's called Ruby's Storm, and it's about a little girl who goes to visit her grandpa during a storm. This piece here, they're calling it a question and answer report, is really cool because it's about the water cycle, and that's one of my favorite things to teach in grade 2. I'm not going to get a chance to learn about it in class, but we can definitely learn about it here on EDSB. And what else do we have? I think the last story is actually a First Nations legend called How Raven Made the Tides. And not only is it a really cool legend, it has these amazing illustrations. I think these are called woodcuts. So anyway, I'm excited to get into this reader over the next couple of weeks. The very first thing we did read, and I posted it yesterday, was this poem called Wind. So I'm going to read that to you now because we're going to do a little bit more work with it today. Wind. I don't mind getting rained on, and I don't mind getting snowed on, and I don't mind getting frozen, but I don't like getting blowed on. Wind, it pushes. Wind, it shoves. Snatches hats and grabs at gloves, bites my face with icy teeth, slips those slivers underneath my longest scarf, my thickest coat, then grabs me tight around the throat, blows so hard it knocks me down, pounds and rushes all around. Wind, it rips and roars and swells. Wind is how the weather yells. Don't mind the rain, don't mind the snow, just don't like that wind to blow. And this poem has some pretty funny pictures, if you can see. So today, what I wanted to quickly introduce is that idea of something called figurative language, and specifically, we're going to be learning about something called a simile. And if I can figure out how to put a word right here, that would be pretty cool. Bing! Simile. We're going to be learning about the ways that poets, like this particular poet, Lois Lazinski, used language in this poem to really paint a picture in the mind of her readers. And that's something we've been talking about all year, is the way that authors and writers and creative people can really make you visualize what they're talking about. And visualization is one of the most important comprehension strategies when you're reading. You can see it in your mind, you can understand it better. So this poet used a lot of words to describe the wind, and yesterday's assignment was to find all the verbs. So I think if you were even reading it quickly, you would find lots of verbs. I think there's about 15 verbs in this poem. And all of the verbs are the wind doing things to the person in the poem. Things like pushing and shoving, grabbing, knocking me down, pounding, ripping and roaring. And I want you to take a minute and think about, what does the wind sound like when the poet describes it ripping, roaring, pounding? Do you think it makes the wind sound like pleasant or nice or friendly? Or does it make the wind sound mean, grouchy, kind of like a bully? And why would the author of this poem use that kind of vocabulary to describe the wind? Well, today, what I want us to do is using this poem to inspire us to think of some ways that we can compare objects to other objects. And that's what a simile is. So when we compare things like the wind to teeth. So listen carefully here. The wind bites my face with icy teeth. Well, the wind doesn't have teeth, but if you've ever been outside on a really cold, windy day, you might feel like the wind is biting at your skin because it's so cold. So when a poet uses words like the wind is like icy teeth, that's the poet comparing the wind to teeth. So the wind is like teeth. And why is the wind like teeth? Because the wind is sharp and it can bite and it can hurt you. So I'm going to list some objects on Edsby, and your challenge is going to be to see if you can compare an object or an animal or something in nature. I'm looking at my list that's down here below, and see if you can make some comparisons. So for example, put my book down. Imagine if I could put some words here. Bing, that would be amazing. I don't really know how YouTubers do it, but maybe I'll figure that out. Let's see here. I've got as quick as. So think about something that's quick, and maybe you can think of a way to describe a person or an object as quick. So as an example, I might say, wow, you're as quick as a bunny. That's something, a common one that you hear. So I'm not saying you are a bunny. I'm saying the way that you're acting reminds me of a bunny because you're so fast. So quick as a bunny is a common one. I'm going to list some on Edsby and see if you can come up with some similes of your own. All right, I hope that everybody understands, and I will talk to you soon.